Hello and welcome to Lakewood Daily Devotions. Happy Wednesday. You've made it halfway through the week. Congratulations. Well, this week we've been going through, and it seems like the theme of this week is people trying to put Jesus in a corner. People trying really to discredit Jesus. And today's no different. Not too long after he just finishes the test about resurrection and marriage, now he has another test. And this time, it's a question that the rabbis had debated for centuries. What is the greatest commandment of the law? Now, there were 613 laws in the Jewish commandments, and 365 of them were negative. Don't do this. 248 were positive. Yeah, do this. And so there had been a debate for quite some time over which of the commandments were weightier than others. And so they posed this question to Jesus, but it's important to know that as they pose this question to Jesus, they are not actually wanting the answer. They're not learners. They are trying to get Jesus discredited. And so they ask him, which of these great laws is the best? Which one is the greatest of the commandments? Because they have debated it so long, and now they're going to make Jesus take a stance on this. And so if he says a specific law is greater than another law, not only is he elevating that law, but that means he's also downgrading other laws, and that would give them a way to discredit him. So once again, they think, all right, we've put him into a corner. So here we go. We're going to be in Matthew chapter 2, starting at verse 34. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. One of them, a lawyer, an expert in the law, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And he said to him, You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. So this is interesting. Jesus doesn't hesitate. He simply says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then he adds, love your neighbor like you love yourself. It's interesting because the first one is, it's actually a recitation of the Shema in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. This is a prayer that the Jewish people would pray daily. And then the second came out of Leviticus, love your neighbor as yourself. And Jesus says, that's it. That the whole law boils down to this, that you love God and that you love people. Every rule, every law, every thou shalt and thou shalt not, all comes down to this one idea. Love God and love people. See, sometimes we like to make Christianity complicated. I imagine that as they sat and debated this over centuries, they made it as complicated as they could. But Jesus simplifies the whole thing. Jesus brings it back to the center and simply says, love God deeply and love people generously. It's funny, whenever the disciples ask Jesus, how will they know that you sent us? In John chapter 13, Jesus says, a new commandment I give you. Love one another. They will know that you are my disciples, my followers, if you love one another. It's easy to forget that. It's easy to get to points where we get so bogged down, and especially when we're wronged, or when our day just doesn't go right, or horrible things happen, and we forget the simplicity. And please understand, simplicity does not mean easy. If something can be very simple yet very difficult, and sometimes love is very difficult, because love is service in all things. That's not always easy. But the simplicity of the gospel is to love God with everything you have, and then to love your neighbor like you love yourself. So if I can give you a prayer maybe to pray today, it's that, God, let me see people through your eyes. Let, please reignite the love in my heart. First, for you, God, and then for those around me. Let my faith not just be an obligation, but a devotion and a compassion that I would love you deeply and love your people generously. Be blessed.